911, what's your emergency?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the PIO Podcast, a place to discuss all public information-related topics for police, fire, EMS, and local and federal government organizations.
It was a good learning experience for a lot of us that social media is not real life.
But we have to remember the media are very rarely a target audience. They're simply that conduit.
I think what's so interesting about this position too, and this job and this profession, is that every one of us is looking for purpose. And when we find it here, that's it.
Good afternoon. Today on the PIO podcast, we have a really, I'm very excited about this guest. We have Lauri Stevens. She's the principal founder of LawS Communications. She's a well-known expert involving social media and law enforcement, and she has a lot of perspectives. She has a lot of projects, including the Smile Conference, LawS Academy, which includes social media training for law enforcement, and also the Connected Cops website. So Lauri, welcome to the show.
Hey, Robert. So great to be here. Thank you so much.
Lauri, we've interacted on social media for years now, and I have yet to have ever had an opportunity to get to your conference. And we'll talk about that later on today, but you've been around in this field from basically the beginning. So let's talk about your background. How'd you get into this field?
Yeah, I certainly was definitely the first out of the gate, I think. Like internationally even, it was pretty crazy. And it was all pretty much by accident, I when I was a young reporter, I was television news is what I did. And I was always struck by what a bad job first responders, not just police, but, all first responders did at telling their stories. They either weren't, rarely anyway, were given a good opportunity, or when they were, they just didn't exactly put their best foot forward, shall we say. So I dabbled a little bit back then at trying to help, those around me do a better job. But then, so fast forward, I was past my early career as a television journalist and was working as a department chair. I apologize for my voice, by the way. I'm getting over a cold. Working as a department chair in higher education. And I was a chair of interactive media when social media started to take shape. And my students created a website for a police department I used to report on. And then I convinced them to do Facebook. And I didn't know any police department on Facebook, but the chief there was pretty media savvy and open-minded. And it hit me that maybe then, this was like 2007, 08, somewhere in there, it was a good time to try again to, help first responders. And so since it was a police department, I stuck with police. People think I had family in policing or something like that. I didn't at all. I just, just started with police, and I just stuck with policing. And people also think my name came from research, LawS Communications. Nope. At the college, people called me LawS because of my LAS initials. So when it came time to come up with the name, I just thought LawS, but I put a W in there. I say it's for web, the World Wide Web. And that's all there was to it. And so that's how I got my start.
Wow, that's awesome. And you know what? And honestly, law enforcement, we needed a field. We needed somewhere to go in order to reach out to the community, and social media kind of was that natural way to go. And let's face it, firemen, everybody loves a fireman, so they can get away with stuff a lot more than we can.
Right.
So let's talk about social media policy first. There's been an amazing amount of legal action, in particular with social media, and it's now considered free speech when it's on a public forum that's hosted by a public agency.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about that. And I have a question here, and there's a little bit of we have a little bit of disagreement, but what should agencies what should they be doing right now when it comes to addressing the legal action on their social media pages?
Um, well, let me just say that, literally right after I got that first department started on Facebook, the very first thing I said to the chief is, you need a policy for this stuff. And it's going to be fraught with issues. I just knew it. I could feel it. And so I wrote one of the first, I couldn't find any others at the time, social media policies for police use of social media. And I've been big on policy ever since. But I think where you and we talked a little bit before we went online here is, I think what's happened is, Robert, in the beginning, the city attorneys used to just, oh my goodness, they just used to frost my butt when they would just say, no social media. You can't do social media. And the police chief would come back and say, we can't do social media, because the city attorney, who doesn't know anything about it and is too afraid to actually learn about it and give them some good advice, just said no, and no. And so that sort of set a stage for then when these agencies started getting sued, there was a frosting effect. And I was working with the Honolulu police back a bazillion years ago. I was sort of a subcontractor to another group, and the agency got sued, but they violated their own policy. They had a policy posted and they didn't stick to it. The captain said to me, I said, what, why did you take it down? He says, because it really ticked me off. And I said, well, Captain, either put that in the policy that if it ticks off the captain, it can come down, or don't take it down. Like,
Right.
don't, you have to have a policy and you have to stick to it. And then we fast forward to San Diego sheriff, and that sheriff just shut down the Facebook page completely, just completely overreacting because they don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
That what's really important, I think, a case that people might look at is and I'm not an attorney, and the first person I refer people to is Eric Astupanis. He's my friend and an attorney in Massachusetts. He works for the Massachusetts Chiefs Association, and he specializes in social media. He's endorsed my Facebook takedown policy for reasons we can get into if you like. But he reminds me of this case in Loudoun County, Virginia, where as I understand it, I might be muddling this up, but I think it was along the lines of the judge said to this person who was running for public office, who said, text me anything, post anything, ask me any questions whatsoever. And I think she had a policy posted, but some person took her up on that and did it. She didn't like it. She blocked it or hid it or whatever for 12 hours and then undid what she did. But still, it was too late. She got sued. But the point that the judge made was, have a policy and stick to it. And I think that's what these agencies need to really get from that is, don't be afraid to, if you have a policy that says if it's off topic, we'll take it down, do it. But do it every time, not just if it's off topic and negative, but if it's off topic and positive, you have to apply it consistently. But it's your house. Let me make one other point. And my policy states limited public forum versus public forum. Public forum definition has a long-standing history of being a public forum, blah, 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 blah. Limited public forum is created voluntarily by the government agency to enhance public, speech and access and blah, blah, blah. That's what Facebook is. These agencies are creating this space voluntarily, and they have a right to protect it, but they have to do so diligently with a posted policy and enforce it consistently.
Okay, then that answers the question. So that's perfect. Lauri, thank you very much for going over that difference, that nuance about a limited public forum versus a public forum.
And I should say that my policy is used by agencies who don't even know they're using it because they know how it gets passed around. Mm-hmm. But if anybody wants it and they just email me, I'll gladly send it. It's completely free. I don't need any credit or anything. Just use it. Run it by the suits, but
and we'll put a note in the show notes so that people are aware that they can contact you with that. Absolutely. All right, Lauri. So let's move on right now. Does having a notice on your website about acceptable content for posting on social media, does that provide the agency any kind of protection?
Well, I would like to think so. I mean, that came from, not all, like Facebook has a place where you can put a policy, right? Not all of the platforms do. And so that came from, well, okay, absent that, put it on your website, reference it on your social media platforms, and here it is on your website. And by gosh, I'd like to think so, as long, again, as it's comprehensive and you actually enforce it, you actually do pay attention to it. And it's a good policy. I would think so. Again, I'm not an attorney.
I completely understand. Here we are in law enforcement. Like we said before, firemen, everybody loves a fireman. Not everybody likes law enforcement. And we
No.
attract a lot of negativity, which can then be broadcast via social media. And
Yeah.
it does. So, you some of the platforms, it really gets viral and it gets difficult. How should law enforcement handle trolls, bloggers, and bots?
I think the biggest mistake police make, is that whole stereotypical, we're cops, we don't talk, stiff upper lip and don't say anything. And I think that especially applies in situations like this. Police are quick to ignore. I tell my clients to do the opposite. Instead of the mindset of, give me a reason to answer you, and if you're a jerk, I'm not gonna, to try to have the opposite mindset of, give me a reason to ignore you. Otherwise, I'm going to answer you, right? And so the reason to ignore them is, if they're the frequent flyers and they're just, asshats, you ignore them. But if there's an opportunity, an educational opportunity, remember, when you answer that one guy who's saying something that's not true, but there's a real educational opportunity, he's not just being a jerk and calling you a name. Okay, ignore him. But if he's accusing you of something that's just not true, and the explanation would educate the public, don't ignore him. Answer him and educate the public, because hundreds, if not thousands of other people might be wondering the same thing. And worst comes to worst, they're going to go, holy cow, the cops just answered me.
Right. And we do have to answer. We do have to engage. The whole purpose of social media is engagement anyway. So,
of course,
and again, sometimes it gets to the point where no matter how much you engage, you're never gonna win that argument.
Right. Well,
but you have to make an attempt, right?
Often the public's going to step in for you,
Right.
Just, as well as I do that the great majority, and the media will have us believe it's not, but still, it's right around 86-87% of the public really, really support their police officers, and really want to help them. And if you're getting blasted and it's unfair and unnecessary, chances are high, if you've done a good job of engaging your public, that those people are going to step in for you and just tell the naysayers to back off.
I always call that building your currency bank up. In other
Exactly.
words, your public
Exactly.
will. And we've seen this many times in the agencies that I've worked for over the years, where if you have good public will, you're trying to be transparent, you respond to people when they have questions. I think what ends up happening is sometimes you don't even have to talk, because the people that are your followers and the people that like what you're doing, they respond for you.
You're absolutely correct. Absolutely bang on.
All right, great, Lauri. So let's talk about over the last let's go back maybe 4 or 5 years, because it's been this way for a while now. But police officers, they're their own worst enemies. Sometimes they get themselves into trouble by what they post and what they put out on social media. We just saw a few officers getting trouble recently for their thought process, their political beliefs, and in regards to certain ethnic or racial groups. So
Yeah.
some of those posts can be ethnic, they can be racial, they can be politically insensitive comments, which can really impact their ability to remain unbiased in the public's perception.
Exactly.
So what should public agencies be doing?
I'm just so astounded by how much that happens. You know, they just don't understand, these officers, at how much that affects their ability to lose a case because they just said something racist, and now they're going to be in court against somebody of that particular minority group and lose a case just because they made that comment, you know, and they don't seem to put two and two together. Do they have the right to say that? Well, their unions and their associations are going to back them up and say they do, and they may even win that, but they're going to wreck their careers, and they're going to lose the confidence of their colleagues as well, because they're not safe, right? They're not career safe. They're just not worthy in that of that trust, right? And
Right.
so there's that. And so man, I could be in a soapbox for a while on this, but I'm also astounded by how few agencies still don't train their members. I mean, the kinds of things you just described happened 12 years ago, and the same thing happened yesterday.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's so unnecessary, right? If people would just realize and learn from history, right? The one and the agencies who do train their members in online best practices and online safety, which is career safety. It isn't just because Big Brother or the chief said so. It's to protect your career, gol darn it, you know. And the ones who have are the ones who are consistently have fewer. The agencies who have the fewer problems, but the agencies who also open up and say, hey, officers, you can represent this department on social media as long as you get this training and that training and you do it well, they have fewer problems, not more problems, you know. And so basically, yeah, they just need training. They need training, and they need to understand it isn't just about the chief said so, it's about your career.
Right. And, you know, they also need that, again, policy is everything. We've kind of already talked about that, but not having a policy about what's appropriate to post and what's not, and then not educating your officers about what's appropriate and not, is only it's a recipe for disaster for the agency and for the officers.
Well, you know, Robert, when you think about it, you go, here's our social media policy. They're going to go, I don't need a policy for social media. It's just social media. What's there to know?
Right. Everybody knows how to post on social media, and
I know how to
everybody
use
puts
social
all their
media.
stuff out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the one where you really need to make them take it more seriously.
I do find it amazing that there are still agencies out there that do not have social media policies. They're still out there. I mean, you would think they wouldn't be, but they are.
I just presented at this law enforcement conference in Pennsylvania like 3 weeks ago, and I said to him, if you don't have a social media use policy for on duty and off duty use, please don't tell me. I don't want to know, and I don't want to hear it anymore. It's crazy, you know. It's absolutely crazy that they don't, because there's so many good ones out there that are free. You know, if you can't find one, I got one or two or three or 500, you know, I'll send them to you and get a policy and train your officers on it.
Absolutely. I can't say that enough. Training is so important.
Yep.
All right, Lauri, so let's talk about your other passion, the Smile Conference, the social media and law enforcement conference that you have. Let's first of all, let's talk about it, because you have done training, this kind of training, and you bring experts in from every region of the country and in the world. What is the Smile Conference?
So there's actually two now, Robert. So Smile is social media, the internet, and law enforcement. And then 2 years ago, I started iSmile for investigators Smile Conference. And so what we do is Monday to Wednesday, we have Smile, and then we overlap on Wednesday, and Wednesday to Friday, we have iSmile. And Monday starts out with more of the community engagement type topics, maybe some strategy and some case studies and that sort of thing. Tuesday, and we're all in one session. And then Tuesday, we might have some breakouts, and we get more into a crisis management and some, you know, some really, really high level, awesome speakers engaging the audience in that regard. And Wednesday might be more into more of the same, maybe some legal issues. It just sort of depends. But then we also start iSmile, where we then have the plenary sessions for best practices and investigative techniques. And then Thursday and Friday, we are way down in the weeds with, you know, police, you know, certified detectives doing training in hands-on social media and OSINT investigations. So it's a the week that by 4 o'clock on Friday, I'm nearly dead, but it's such a good week. It's such a great learning experience. It people tell me it's still the premier place to go and learn. It's the only place that's laser focused on law enforcement use of social media for any use anywhere. And so it's just a really, it's my passion. It's what I'm focused on right now more than anything.
And let me ask this: how long has this conference been going on? How many years?
So the first conference was conceived in 2009, and it was in 2010 in Washington, D.C. By far, ahead of others by years, not just days or weeks or months. And we've had people from all over the world. We consistently get all over North America there. The last conference, we had a contingent of officers from the United Arab Emirates, and they are continuing to speak with me about some other projects. So it's just a very international, but really mostly North American focused conference, and the speakers all come. Like, I have speakers from Canada as well. The Canadians are doing some really great work, so we bring them in as well. And it's just I don't know. I don't go to the other conferences. I only go by what people tell me, and they tell me that it's I don't have to, and I wouldn't, because the other conferences aren't, like I said, they're not. There's government social media conferences that are, I'm told, are outstanding, but this one is so laser focused on law enforcement, and so that's where my passion is these days, and that's where we're sticking. And it's just
Nice.
high quality.
All right. So if somebody's interested in finding out about this conference, where do they go to look? The website?
Oh yeah, it's smileconference.com. The funny thing is that 2 years ago or 3 years ago, there's a dental conference out there now. They've totally hijacked our hashtag and mucked up all my good Twitter data.
Oh no.
But, they're dentists, and they're checking in at the Smile Conference. I see them all the time on the American Dental Association. They're clueless, but that's okay, because the Smile Conference is law enforcement.
Awesome. Let's talk about Connected Cops.
Okay.
Are you still doing that?
The Connected Cops was really a blog. I have mixed feelings about what to do with it. I haven't posted on it in quite some time. I'm open to suggestions if people would like to contribute, or it's still there because I get people who say they find articles on it that are of use to them, which is great. But I have not posted on it in a while.
Okay. And I had another question. You used to do like an international tweetathon, right?
Yeah, poll tweet.
Are you doing it still?
I haven't. The first one was enormous. We trended around the world. It was incredible, and then it just sort of got smaller each year, because the novelty was in the first year.
Of course.
And so I haven't done it in a few years. It's so funny that you bring that up, because I've thought about it in a while. I mean, we totally could. I don't know. You want to work on that with me? We'll do it together.
Yeah, I'll work on it with you. Absolutely.
Let's do it. Let's
right.
poll tweet. I think I still have the URL and all that.
Oh, awesome. Well, we'll have to talk about it. Yeah, I'd love to help you work with that on that. That's always something, especially for those agencies that have jumped on Twitter over the last few years.
Yeah.
Something different.
They'll be like, what the heck is this? I've never heard of it. Maybe let's give it a try.
There you go. All right, Lauri, we're going to switch into some rapid fire questions. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, texting or talking?
Oh my goodness. Talking for sure, if you want it to be meaningful, texting if, hey, what's for dinner? But
right.
If it's your mom, God damn it, talk to her. Sorry,
Absolutely.
That was my son.
That's okay. What place would you want most to travel to?
Oh, I haven't been to Peru, and I really want to see Sacsayhuaman in Peru, and the Galapagos Islands would probably be my top two choices.
Excellent. Coffee or tea?
I drink both, but prefer tea. When I'm grounded, I can't do coffee. Tea is where it's at.
Drink of choice?
Well, if we're talking adult beverage,
we are.
Okay, then I will say a great Cabernet is always appreciated.
If you could have a superpower, which would you have?
Well, it's not going to be one of the normal ones. I think it would be amazing, and I'm in all seriousness, if we could, just harness the power to love each other unconditionally. That would truly be a superpower. And I mean, even those, and especially those, who have wronged us along the way. I don't know anyone who's ever achieved that, but that's what I'm working on. I'm not there yet.
You know what? It would be nice if people were just a lot nicer to each other
Just be
in
nice. Yeah.
general. The world would be so much of a
A
better
lot of
place.
backstabbing in my space. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Name a food you would eat for an entire week.
Yeah. Something I eat every day for months and months is arugula and baby spinach. But if you want a more interesting answer, I'm going to say king crab legs dripping with garlic butter.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Good one, right?
Yes, I like that one. All right, ask permission or beg for forgiveness?
My dad used to tell me I should always get into just a little bit of trouble, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have any fun. So I say most certainly, and don't like the word beg, but I'll say ask for forgiveness.
Excellent. What key points, Lauri, would you like the listeners to take from this interview today?
I want to say thank you for getting this far. I don't know what else.
Anything you'd like to add?
Honestly, I would like to suggest that my colleagues remember who they are, as many of them are previous journalists or were trained as journalists, and remind them that free speech applies to everyone, whether you agree with their politics or not, and might suggest that it's especially important if you don't agree. And maybe I'll just leave it at that.
You know what? I really like that point because, yeah, I'm not going to go any further. All right. Lauri, how can people best reach out to you if they want to connect or follow up?
Oh my goodness, it's so easy. You put in my name in Google and I'm like the first 2 pages. But I'm at Lauri, L-A-U-R-I, no E, at lawscom.net, 2 M's on lawscom. Or, you can ring me anytime. I'm happy to talk or happy to help anyone if I can.
And Lauri, I will put all of that into the show notes.
Thank you so much, Robert. This was tons of fun.
Lauri, thank you for coming onto the show, and we'll be right back, everybody. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get notified of the latest episode. If you are listening on a platform that allows reviews, please give us a review. We appreciate any review, good or bad. It helps us improve on each episode. Until next time, be safe.